So this is broken down into two videos. The main video is finalizing a redone page from a previous layout. It's one of those experiments with different paper, different pens. The before and after here, the before page was primarily done with one brush. Obviously, all the washed out, the black areas with space wasn't done with a 10-0 liner brush, but the rest of the drawing was done with a 10-0 liner brush. And some aspects of the liner brush work well. They work well with organic, flowing people, clothing, but they're a bit of a challenge when doing technical things. And I do have a set of Copic multiliners, and I have exhumed my ancient 20-year-old rapidograph set. But having cleaned them out and started working with them kind of reminds me of the reason why I stopped using them. And that kind of brings me up to the first few still images that you see here are of my original visualization of the concept of this space opera universe that I'm building. And these pages were done on typing paper, done to scale. A lot of use with a magnifying glass. These panels were laid out on tracing paper first and then built up onto the main page from there. The lack of understanding on the scale of drawing something at a certain exploded panel, like the Bristol papers that comic book artists usually use, and then how it's reduced down to the actual production size is a bit of a challenge because you don't want to get too wrapped up into like microscopic little details because they're going to shrink. And some details that look good at a certain aspect ratio, when shrunk down, they look cramped or they look busy or they kind of blend in a little bit. It's like the pointillist paintings. You stand back from pointillist paintings or an impressionist painting. You stand back and it all blends in together. Or like the Lichtenstein, I think. He has the cartoon comic book kind of painting style. When you stand back and it all blends in, but when you look into it really close, you see all the little dots and the little paint strokes and all that, and the painting, the image kind of dissolves into these microscopic little islands of color. And there's that kind of line to cross between too much detail and having it compressed down into a production size and having not enough detail. And it wasn't something I was specifically keyed up on. I had this idea that I wanted to do, and I had it down pat. And it wasn't as if I could jump off the bus and go to an art store. Most of the art stores that I could go to were easily an hour drive away. And these pages were done when I was in high school, and I didn't have my driver's license at the time. So I was kind of stuck with the painting and drawing supplies that I had at the time. And for my birthday, dear Dad got me this rapidograph pen set because I had been using these Micron pens that I got from Walmart, and I was never too happy with them because they would be great at first, and then they would kind of wear out, and they were, even at that time, relatively pricey things for me to have. And so the rapidographs they had the reliability of a fountain pen and the refillability of a fountain pen, but they didn't break down as much as like the fiber-tipped pens. And so these following pages were all done using the rapidographs. And as you can see with them, they were busy, kind of feeling out the drawing style. I was trying to make the rapidographs a technical pen do something a technical pen really can't do. Line feathering and little fine little details. And that's why when I went to art school, I kind of ditched the rapidographs. There were limitations, and I was growing bored with them clogging all the time. I would be drawing and drawing and drawing, and then it would kind of like stop working, and I would have to go and clean the thing and then refill it up. And it just became a tedious bother. So I got some pen holders and some 102 nibs, and I started working with those. There was a period of time where I was thinking about making a comic book using the Zebra F301 ballpoint pens. One of the best drawing ballpoint pens I can think of. But they don't have a very high contrast. And to go through Photoshop or Illustrator and build up the contrast artificially would kind of diminish the character that the Zebra ballpoint pen has when put to paper. And this here you can see the extent that I'm going for with these new pages. The inspiration for this universe, again, was kind of it's a twofold reaction. A relative annoyance with the flying Cadillac of the USS Enterprise in Star Trek The Next Generation. It just seemed to be too comfortable. It isolated the occupants of the ship from the tactile existence of living in space. The other thing was, when this was out, I was in high school, and when these shows came out, they were always preempted by some kind of sports, either a football game or a baseball game. And out of just sheer irritation, I decided, rather than belabor the fact that I can't see this show except as a rerun later on, because even the reruns were preempted by sports, that I would just come up with my own stories. The other thing, too, is it's tough to convey the amount of risk that space has for humanity in a flying Cadillac. I would imagine there's an awful lot of backstory, decades of premature death, accidents, catastrophic events which, set back research and development in spaceflight that's not communicated in the Star Trek universe. I found an anthology of the risks, rewards, and disasters of spaceflight. I love the idealism of our three preeminent billionaires reaching out into space. And they're laying the foundation of humanity's reach into space. But that idealism will have a cost. And in some ways, the stories that I'm going to be producing here in this format are to express those costs. And the rewards as well. Thank you for watching.